The crisp morning air roused Daniel from his slumber, the golden rays of dawn stretching through his small apartment window, illuminating a room cluttered with textbooks, old pizza boxes, and a half-torn poster depicting the New York skyline. At 18, Daniel was a college student juggling his dreams of becoming a filmmaker with the harsh reality of working part-time as a grocery store cashier. The echo of a squeaky register and the monotonous beep of scanning items filled his days, blending into a symphony of responsibility and sacrifice. With his mother's sudden illness draining their savings and family pride, Daniel often had to choose between textbooks and groceries. Still, he held his head high, determined to keep the flicker of hope alive amid the mounting bills. His fingers brushed over a half-finished screenplay he'd written. The protagonist he longed to breathe life into was a reflection of his own aspirations, and as always, he wrestled with the bittersweet reminder that dreams often require more than passion, they demanded resources too. Yet, for all the struggles that accompanied financial insecurity, Daniel held steadfast to a value that permeated his life: kindness. He believed in the power of small gestures, a warm smile, a helping hand. These were the threads that connected humanity, weaving a fabric of compassion in a world too often caught in its own chaos. This particular morning, as he organized the produce department, he noticed a frail figure slowly navigating the aisles. Mrs. Abernathy was a fixture of the neighborhood, a woman whose silver hair shone like a halo in the light, contrasting starkly with her well-worn cardigan. Rumored to have lost her husband years ago, she wandered into the store every Wednesday, seeking not just groceries but solace in the world around her. Despite her quiet demeanor, she radiated an air of wisdom, a treasure trove of stories concealed behind her cloudy blue eyes. "Good morning, Mrs. Abernathy," Daniel called out, pushing a cart crammed with apples, oranges, and bananas across the aisle. She peered at him over her glasses, and he couldn't help but notice the hint of warmth that blossomed in her expression at his greeting. "Oh, Daniel dear, good morning," she replied, her voice gentle but thick with a certain melancholy. "You know, you're always so cheerful. It makes this old woman feel special." Despite the weight of his own reality, Daniel felt a surge of warmth flood through him. "Well, you are special, I mean it. Do you need help with anything today?" A trembling hand gestured toward a bulk container of flour that she could barely reach. "If you wouldn't mind, dear." "This backache isn't getting any better," she said with a soft laugh that echoed like distant church bells. It was a simple favor, but as Daniel effortlessly lifted the heavy bag, he felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. In that moment, he recognized that while he couldn't change the world, he could make a difference for her and himself. A ripple of connection sparked in the air, binding them for just a moment. It was as if, in lifting the weight of flour, he momentarily lifted the weight of loneliness off her slumped shoulders. As he placed the bag in her shopping basket, he noticed her eyes, glistening with unshed tears, which sparked a wave of concern within him. "Are you all right, Mrs. Abernathy? Is there anything else you need?" "Just a little company, dear. It gets so very quiet at home," she admitted softly, her words hanging heavy in the air. That day, Daniel made an unexpected decision. He didn't just ring her up, he asked her to join him for a quick coffee break, extending an invitation that surprised even himself. Sitting across from her at the tiny cafe around the corner, he listened intently, soaking in her stories of bygone summers and travels, each tale laced with nostalgia and light. The weight of his financial burden slipped away in those moments of connection, revealing a truth he hadn't fully realized before: kindness bore an unexpected richness, one that filled the heart, not the wallet. This simple act of compassion transcended their age difference. They didn't just share coffee, they shared laughter, worldviews, and ideas about life that would ripple through their interactions from that day onwards. Daniel often found himself looking for reasons to wander into the grocery store on Wednesdays, simply to see Mrs. Abernathy, to listen to her tales, and to find solace together in their shared stories of loneliness and dreams. Then, as the seasons changed and autumn leaves came tumbling down, their bond deepened into an unspoken understanding, a lifeline connecting two solitary souls across the generational divide. Yet, like the sheer beauty of the leaves' colors, the sweetness of their friendship was ephemeral. One chilly morning, the call came that rippled through Daniel's world like a cold shock. Mrs. Abernathy had passed away overnight, leaving behind an empty chair at the cafe where they had shared so many moments of laughter and warmth. The world around Daniel seemed grayer, dimmed by the loss of a woman whose kindness and resilience had touched his heart, lighting a path through his own challenges. As he sifted through the waves of grief, the finality of her absence stirred an unfamiliar nest of emotions. But just as the sun rises after the night's despair, he soon realized that Mrs. Abernathy had left him something unexpected, something life-changing that would alter the course of his journey forever. As he stood alone outside her little home, contemplating not merely her loss but the gifts she had given him, the kindness, the laughter, the companionship, his thoughts began to shift toward the future. One he now understood would honor her memory, connecting him deeply to the values they shared. In his heart he felt her guiding presence, as if her old spirit was urging him forward, whispering promises of the ripples that kindness could create, the life-changing spark of transformation that lay just ahead. The sun shone brightly on the day of Mrs. Abernathy's memorial, casting a soft light that seemed to blanket the world in warmth, despite the void her absence had left. Daniel stood quietly off to the side, listening as neighbors shared stories that painted a vivid picture of the woman who had touched so many lives. Each tale echoed the kindness she had extended, each memory a thread in the rich tapestry of her life. And as they spoke, Daniel felt the weight of his grief morph into a profound gratitude for all Mrs. Abernathy had imparted to him. In the days following the service, Daniel found himself returning to her home, not as an intruder but as a guardian of her memory. The door creaked open, familiar and welcoming, and a sense of purpose latched onto him like an old friend. As he sorted through her belongings, flowers she had dried for potpourri, stacks of books whispering stories that had long traveled with her, he stumbled upon a sealed envelope tucked inside a novel titled "The Future Belongs to Those Who Believe in the Beauty of Their Dreams." He hesitated, feeling both the pang of intruding on her privacy and the magnetic pull of curiosity. Inside, he found a handwritten note from Mrs. Abernathy that spoke of hope and resilience, principles that had clearly shaped her life and the life of others. Her message drew him in, captivating him with words woven from love and wisdom, urging the reader to treat those around them with kindness and compassion. In giving, we receive more than we can imagine, dear Daniel. And then he found it. A check made out to him for a grand total of $5,000, accompanied by instructions explaining that it was to help him pursue his dreams of filmmaking. Alongside the check lay a small notebook filled with notes about his aspirations that he had shared with her during their coffee sessions. It was as if Mrs. Abernathy had cradled his hopes in her hands and, with one last act of kindness, turned them into reality. Stunned, Daniel stared at the paper, a whirlwind of emotions cascading through him. In one moment, sorrow melded with disbelief, grief intermingled with gratitude. All at once, her life lessons crystallized within him, as he understood the true power of rippling kindness. She had transformed his sorrow into something potential-laden, gifting him a beacon of hope where darkness once loomed. In the following weeks, Daniel began channeling the energy of his loss into something constructive. With the money from Mrs. Abernathy, he enrolled in filmmaking classes that had always felt just beyond his reach. Each lecture he attended infused him with newfound purpose, and soon, the scripted dreams that had once floated on the periphery of his life began materializing into something vivid and tangible. His imagination flowed with vigor as he absorbed lessons on storytelling, cinematography, and editing, and soon he made friends within the creative community, those who knew the struggles he faced and the determination it took to take each step toward success. Among his new friends was Amelia, an energetic, aspiring actress with an unquenchable passion for storytelling. Their connection blossomed as they started collaborating, writing shorts together after class. Their laughter echoed through the cramped study rooms, and they shared dreams under the flickering bulbs of the school library, swapping tales of their own ambition and struggles. But more than that, Amelia challenged Daniel to push the boundaries of his craft and loosen the constraints he had initially placed on his creativity. Their partnership became an ode to the essence of kindness, a mutual belief in each other akin to Mrs. Abernathy's faith in him. Together, they crafted a compelling short film about kindness rippling through a community, echoing the lessons Daniel had learned from the woman who had unknowingly paved his path. The story featured characters whose lives changed through seemingly minor acts of care, comically intertwining their struggles and joys. The project not only brought them closer but also stirred a camaraderie among classmates who wished to help, each feeling empowered to contribute in their own unique way. As the film took form, Daniel's determination burgeoned. Events of collaboration transformed into impromptu dance parties late at night, where they devised strategies and encouraged each other, ensuring financial obstacles wouldn't dim their aspirations. College students and crew members pitched ideas, gathering resources and equipment to bring the production to life without a substantial budget. The excitement spread swiftly through the students, pushing them all to think outside the box in the face of their finances. When the day finally arrived for the short film festival, the atmosphere buzzed with anticipation. Daniel and Amelia stood backstage together, adrenaline coursing through their veins as students from various schools showcased their work. Each laughter-filled moment or awkward stumble on stage was celebrated with a sense of unity and camaraderie, as they were reminded that each project held lessons of its own. Finally, it was their turn. The lights dimmed, and the first frame flickered to life. With each scene, the crowd absorbed their story, lives transformed through acts of compassion and kindness. Daniel watched as faces lit up, the emotional weight of the narrative settling around them. When the final credits rolled, applause erupted, resonating like a symphony against their eager ears. The sense of community that enveloped the room felt overwhelming, but most importantly, deeply affirming. Later that evening, as winners were announced, Daniel discovered that their short film had won the Best Community Message Award, a title he hadn't dared to imagine receiving. With the award came an unexpected financial bonus of $3,000, the universe aligning in a moment of pure magic. Tears brimmed in Daniel's eyes as he took the stage, mindful of Mrs. Abernathy's lessons echoing in his heart. The applause felt like a tribute to his late friend, a reflection of her spirit soaring through him, reminding him of those first inklings of hope they had shared over coffee. With the prize money, and once again feeling the ripples of kindness manifesting, Daniel pledged to use part of the funds to create a scholarship to support aspiring filmmakers from underprivileged backgrounds, an idea inspired by Mrs. Abernathy's impact. Although she was no longer physically present, her legacy would weave through the lives of others, knitting together ambition, growth, and connection. In the months following, the scholarship drew attention, capturing the hearts of those who understood the struggle of pursuing dreams in a world often harsh and unforgiving. Daniel began connecting with young filmmakers, presenting workshops centered on creativity, all of which brought renewed energy into his life. Each interaction began to shape a community he never knew he needed, a tapestry enriched by the beauty of giving and receiving. As the seasons turned, friendships blossomed, and uncertainty melted into hope. Every time Daniel encountered a new budding storyteller who needed guidance, he felt a sense of purpose ignite, and he remembered how a simple act of kindness could create ripples of effect that stretched far beyond what one could envision. Mrs. Abernathy's spirit enveloped him not merely in memory but in the joyful embrace of lives being transformed, waiting to inspire the next dreamer. With each shared moment, with every story carried forth, Daniel understood the essence of what Mrs. Abernathy had imparted. Kindness was not just a trait, it was a gift, reverberating through life like waves lapping upon a shore. And no matter how far he traveled, how many highs and lows he faced, her legacy would remain etched within him, a driving force urging him forward to create and share the beauty of hope. In the heart of Maplewood, spring had begun its gentle unfurling, a time of renewal where vibrant flowers exploded into life, and laughter filled the air once again. For Daniel, each passing day resonated with the soft hum of possibilities his life had transformed in ways he had only dared to dream. Having turned the tragedy of Mrs. Abernathy's passing into an inspiring force, he embraced a future that shimmered with hope and connection. The scholarship he created, blossoming into a symbol of determination and compassion, had been remarkably well received. Young filmmakers from all over the state began applying, each sharing their unique stories and aspirations. Daniel had organized workshops that not only cultivated talent but also inspired camaraderie among the aspiring artists. As the applications flowed in, the immense gratitude and personal investment from the students fueled him even more, driving him to advocate for their dreams with a fire that ignited his own ambitions. Among the applicants was a young woman named Mia, an eager storyteller with a talent for weaving intricate narratives that mirrored her own life as the daughter of immigrants. She possessed a palpable passion that reminded Daniel of his earlier struggles, the fears, hopes, and dreams that collided in his own journey. After reading her application, he felt a strong connection stirring in his heart, leading him to invite her for a personal interview. When they met, Mia's buoyant energy made the small cafe feel like a realm of infinite potential. "I've always wanted to tell stories that resonate with people's experiences," she shared, her eyes wide with excitement. "But I didn't have the tools, the resources, or even the confidence to start until I heard about your scholarship." Daniel nodded, inspired by her enthusiasm. "That's what this scholarship is for," he replied warmly. "To give voices the platform they deserve. I want you to feel empowered to pursue your dreams." Their conversation blossomed, both discovering how their backgrounds shaped their perspectives and ambitions. Daniel found himself sharing anecdotes of Mrs. Abernathy, explaining how her spirit driven by kindness had prompted him to create this opportunity. Inspired, Mia spoke about her idea, a short film that showcased the diverse stories of her neighborhood, aiming to bridge the cultural gaps that often isolated them from one another. As the days turned into weeks, with the onset of summer, Daniel kept a close eye on the progress of the scholarship initiative. Students gathered in informal spaces across Maplewood, sharing their insight and creativity, immersing themselves in collaboration that fostered genuine friendships. They brought their stories to life through scripts, scene boards, and rough cuts. Dan encouraged their growth, managing the festival scheduled in only a few months, where they planned to showcase their completed works. One breezy afternoon, while Daniel found his footing organizing yet another potential workshop, he received a message that sent a wave of excitement rushing through him. It was an email from the Maplewood Arts Council. They had been impressed with the impact of his scholarship initiative and wanted to partner with Daniel for a community film festival, acknowledging the art of storytelling as a crucial avenue for connecting people in a fragmented world. With a heart pounding in anticipation, Daniel dashed over to meet with the council members. The festival would take place in the local park, backed by a community that had generously offered to support the event, donating money, time, and resources. Everything formed a tightly woven community tapestry, echoing the values Mrs. Abernathy had cherished so deeply. As preparations commenced, Mia and the collective of budding filmmakers pooled their talents. They crafted campaigns, fun posters designating their different films, accompanied by trailers building suspense in the weeks leading up to the festival. Through afternoons filled with laughter and brainstorming, friendships blossomed further, deepening the community bond. More than just films, they were sharing parts of their lives, their dreams and hopes intertwining, each piece revealing layers of humanity. The weekend of the festival arrived like a gust of inspiration. Daniel stood in the park as the sun illuminated the vibrant faces surrounding him, each filled with excitement over their showcased works. Banners and colorful balloons adorned the trees, but their contagious energy was the real centerpiece. Daniel reflected on his journey from feeling invisible in the world to being surrounded by vivid dreams and stories playing out in real time. More than anything, the festival encapsulated the spirit of kindness that had kindled his path. As the festival kicked off, Anna, the town's mayor, approached him with a proud smile. "You've created something remarkable here, Daniel. This event will enhance our community for years to come. We were just talking about extending funding for your scholarship." Daniel felt tears stinging at the corners of his eyes. The impact of their labor bore bountiful fruit, not just through tangible support but the deeper acknowledgement of their creativity and resilience. The festival soared with success, showcasing films that captured moments of joy, sorrow, and transformation. Mia's project, Voices Unheard, stood out, lauded for layering poignant narratives from her diverse neighborhood, sparking conversations long left unspoken. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden streams of light across the park, it illuminated the faces of triumph and joy as the audience erupted in applause for each presentation. Daniel couldn't remember a moment in his life where he felt more fulfilled. His heart radiated warmth for everyone who had taken part, especially for Mrs. Abernathy, whose enduring spirit seemed to lift them all. Mia found him later that evening, her face glowing with euphoria. "I can't believe it. This is just the beginning, isn't it? To share our stories with one another, it's amazing." "It really is," he replied, meeting her infectious enthusiasm with a smile. "You know, I think we can do it again next year. With all the connections we've made, let's build something even bigger." As they devised plans for the next festival, he realized that it wasn't just creations. This festival was a venture that would last as long as the kindness that inspired him. It was about cultivating relationships that intertwined across generations and fostering a growth mindset through the shared celebration of stories. In the months that followed, the Maplewood Film Festival became a yearly event, uniting people through storytelling in a powerful way. Daniel and Mia dedicated themselves to the scholarship, ensuring perpetual growth for aspiring filmmakers in their small town. Each year brought a new influx of talent, eager to occupy the stage and shed light on their narratives, crafting films that spoke of overcoming adversity, the value of kindness, and the beauty of community. Daniel's heart swelled with gratitude as he came to know the impact of their little gestures and the path he had discovered through Mrs. Abernathy's legacy. The community had woven a tapestry rich with stories that would ripple through time, keeping the essence of kindness alive in every frame and every heart. On one quiet evening, as he looked through old photographs of the festival, his gaze landed on a picture of Mrs. Abernathy, life evident in her smile, warmth in her eyes. In that moment, he understood that kindness wasn't merely an act, it was a collective journey that extended beyond individual moments, giving meaning to every smile, every dawning hope, and each budding friendship. Humbled by the impact of their endeavors, he lifted his gaze to the world beyond. Maplewood had become a beacon of hope, a living testament of resilience through storytelling. He knew they had only chipped the surface of what was possible together, and yet the foundations laid in kindness had paved a way for ongoing growth, one that intricately tied their aspirations back to the heart of community, where the seeds of love could continue to blossom and flourish. As the sun set on another fulfilling day, Daniel felt the echo of his journey reverberate within, a promise that kindness would forever guide him forward, creating waves of love and connection that transcended all boundaries. Together, they had sown not merely stories but seeds of growth that would encompass hope, gratitude, and a future filled with endless possibilities.